You probably know about this feeling. $2,000. Well, now that's with expansions. Yeah, I bought all of them. They got me with these ads I've been seeing nonstop. Okay, fine, I'll buy it, fine. But seriously, they promised to make Monopoly faster? Like 40 minutes? One even lets you own the bank, and they're only $10 each? Okay, fine. Yes, I'll review it. I took one night and one night only to finally see what's up with all these 3 expansions, playing each of them once. Yes, I know, I've only played each expansion once, so this won't be a typical shelf-side review with super in-depth pros and cons. But I've played base Monopoly dozens and dozens of times growing up, so surely that counts for something. And then also, it wasn't the easiest to get people to play expansions with me. Okay, I understand the hate for Monopoly, but we gotta give it a fair shake. We're gonna go through each of the expansions with their good and bad. Are they even good ideas? With final scores at the end, talking about them as a whole. And then of course, some thoughts of base Monopoly. And to kick off, let's start with the good and bad that these all share. And first of all, they're all really easy to get going. There's a nice TLDR at the front, which more games should do. And when you open up that sheet, they cram the first time assembly into the initial setup. It really does the showing over telling well. And then it divides segments of the rulebook well. And if you don't like to read, well, you can just watch the included video for parents to do. Wait, am I too old for this game? Huh. Oh, and all boxes have these player aids. Yay for Hasbro for modernizing. Now we get to the bad they all have, and the components are nothing that inspiring. It's just thin cardboard and cheap plastic, and some of the pieces actually felt kind of dirty, like there's cardboard dust abound. Yeah, there was some glue stuck on my rulebook here, but for $10, I can't complain too much, right? The included cardboard addition to your board that 2 out of 3 of the expansions have don't want to stay flat while slotting into my deluxe version of Monopoly. This makes it a little bit trickier for the decks of cards to stay on top of these areas. But no big deal, we just put these cardboard things completely under the boards and it works fine. The most important bad thing is that there's tons of very unclear wording in the rulebooks. Usually it's things like timing of cards or how moving works. Obviously, if this is the only board game you're playing outside of classics like Monopoly, you probably think this is too technical, so you don't want to think about it. But this stuff is important, okay? Stuff like, it says to play a card on your turn. Okay, well, is this before you roll? After you roll? How about after you roll, but before you move? These things really matter. Is going to SuperJail in its expansion like going to jail in that you skip go? Another crucial one is a Dealmobile in the free parking Jackpot expansion, where you assume this strong piece temporarily. We'll explain this more later. So then your token goes to sit in free parking. Does that mean you collect $200 if your normal token passes go to get there? They should also clarify what happens when another player gets a Dealmobile through the use of the card, or gets a Dealmobile via spinning, but your piece isn't on the free parking space. Rules? Yeah, there's uncertainty abound in these expansions, and so when there was a missing thing in the rulebook, we just kind of agreed amongst ourselves what the ruling would be and just kept that consistent. Okay, so enough about these boring things, now let's get into the sets. Free parking Jackpot is the idea of, well, what if we took the house rule of a Jackpot on free parking and put more silliness around it? Game ends when all properties are owned or when someone goes bankrupt. For those who don't know the details, the free parking house rule is that every time you pay money to the bank in Monopoly, it instead goes underneath to the free parking space. Then when someone lands directly in free parking, they take all of the money. Woohoo! So this idea of constantly paying money to a jackpot is literally baked into this expansion's rules, but with a twist, with the spinner. So when you land on free parking now, you don't necessarily take the jackpot there, rather you spin this wheel. You can see what happens. You can get a free house, you can get an unknown property, or of course, take the jackpot. Bad stuff can happen too, so then you can pay money, your money, to the jackpot. And believe me, the wheel gets spun a lot because of these spin chips everyone starts the game with. And you can spend 1 on your turn to spin the wheel. You can keep spinning as long as you have these chips to spend. Every time you spin the wheel too, you get a bonus card. These can do all sorts of things, like modifying your dice rolls. When you buy a property, you can buy the next one, or a free house, yay! Let's introduce the Dealmobile, which is a piece you can take control of, which by the way is incredible quality. Like, nice, this is actual metal. The Dealmobile makes you super strong. When you cruise around in it, anything unowned you land on, you simply acquire for free. Free! And when you land on other people's spaces, you can skip out on paying rent. Okay, so clearly if you love the idea of a jackpot just stacking up throughout the game, and then the dopamine hit of just grabbing it, this is the expansion for you, right? If you love jackpots, you should get this. Well, Let's get into the not so good now. There's one key thing with the spin chips to keep you spinning, which is that instead of charging someone rent when they land on your properties, you can grab a spin chip instead. While this keeps the spin rate ultra high in the game, because yay, we love to spin, and when you spin you get a bonus card, so more bonus card effects, right? Well, that's not even a good idea to keep flicking and drawing bonuses constantly. That's really raising the randomness of an already random game. This expansion is trying to do something clever where instead of charging rent to someone else, to get money from that player, you can instead take the spin chip to have a chance to win it big with getting the jackpot. It's a cool initial line of thinking to give you a decision to charge rent or not, but it just doesn't really work here because this expansion makes the game much shorter. It's supposed to be about 40 minutes. And in so, properties end up losing their identity and just become spin chip generators. You land here, yeah, I'll take a spin chip. You land there, yeah, I'll take a spin chip. This is the case for pretty much most of the properties in this game, unless you happen to be in the minority and get a bunch of houses on completed sets like Park, Place, or Boardwalk, and then you're gonna be charging people rent for that. But that's the minority of properties. Actually, speaking of these properties, let's get into the cards that facilitate grabbing, where what this expansion does to speed up the time is the take a shortcut card, which lets you just move to any property. So you can see turn 1, if you start with this card, boom, you just play it and move to Boardwalk to buy. Then since this can happen before you move, you just now roll and gain 200 bucks. Isn't that just great balance? On turn 1, if you start with 2 copies of this card, which isn't that unlikely given that you start with 2 bonus cards and then you also start with 2 spin chips, and you can spend both spin chips to draw 2 more bonus cards, so you start with 4 bonus cards in reality. Yeah, what you can do, you can shortcut to Park Place, and you can shortcut again to Boardwalk. Or you could shortcut to Park Place, then spin the wheel 2 times with your spin chips, then hope you get the result that lets you buy the next unknown property. Then you can use the green light card to make any red close to unknown property be buy the next unknown property instead. See how strong these bonus cards are and how you can do such cracked plays on turn 1? What really put the bonus deck under scrutiny for me was the jackpot card, which is actually what it sounds like. Yippee! Yeah, you just get the jackpot. Like, what? No cost, no nothing, yay, it's yours. You didn't have to roll for it. So you're telling me that this house roll where it was fun to slowly stack up money to the middle, slowly stack it up, and then there's tension every time someone approaches free parking, whether or not they'll roll the correct thing, whether or not they'll get the jackpot, that's all removed because someone can just play a card. Bam, I got the jackpot, just take it. Okay. There's also 2 of these jackpot cards in the game, and then you reset this bonus deck frequently because it runs out and then you reshuffle the discard back in. So it's not surprising that with all these ways to get the jackpot, that the jackpot actually never becomes very big. After a while, the jackpot is hovering among kind of boring levels. It can be less than pass and go. Okay, sure, there's 2 negates in this bonus deck that can negate the jackpots or the other cracked buying cards of take a shortcut. But yeah, what if you don't draw these negate cards? Lastly, the whole spinning so much every turn isn't even a good idea because it makes you keep reaching over the table and having to flick it. Honestly, if you had a really small table, it's not that big of a deal. Flicking a random thing for random thing's sake. And you have to spin, like you cannot ignore this because that's how you get the extremely strong bonus cards. More on this expansion and scoring because now it's time for buy everything. Yes, this expansion is where everything is for sale. The jail, the go space, and even the bank. Gameplay ends when all properties are owned, including the new ones, or someone has an instant win through a card ability. Okay, so yeah, that's the first big thing here. You can literally instantly win if you have a certain sale card, and then you meet the condition, like owning Boardwalk with the hotel on it. You can get these sale cards through the new buy die, where you roll it at the end of your turn, and it can allow you to buy sale cards from the sale vault, where there's 3 at a time, all slotting in vertically, and you pay the cost at the top left corner. These sale cards give you passives or instant win abilities. They can also get deleted or refreshed through buy die rolled at the end of the turn. But now let's get back to buy everything. It's actually a really clever idea. It's this great play on the Monopoly universe. It just vibes with the game well, as you have this satisfaction of owning the just visiting space, or you're owning go to jail. In fact, it's pretty cool how they made the corners start to scale with each other, so you can have a satisfying trade deal there. Oh, it's also a cute spin and how owning chance or community chest lets you look at the top 2 cards of the deck and then choose ones that actually apply to the person that landed on that space. It could be you. With the sale cards, the idea of buy everything gets dialed up to 11 because now you can own the bank. I wasn't even kidding before. So when you go to pay for anything, the bank pays for it. This actually seemed too strong at first, but it gets slightly counteracted by the cards, the vault, and all the deeds. These are owning literally all the title cards or all the sale cards. So these are like a bank of their own, where if you own all the properties and someone means to buy one, like Oriental Avenue, they pay you. And for the vault, if someone wants to buy a possible win condition, they pay you. More fun things to own. You can even own the buy die or own the 7 roll. It kind of reminds me of Catan, huh? And then including these insta-win conditions on top of the normal 4-rail Monopoly does add some more tension early to mid-game. You can have some more theory crafting on how to get a win or how to deny someone else an instant win. Like if you own all the title deeds card and then you buy the sale card that says if you own 8+ title deeds, you win, well, then you won the game, huh? Or playing instant Monopoly to buy the blue properties from someone else when you have victory lap, build that hotel, you win. Lastly, I want to stress how this expansion has the best component quality out of all of them with nothing weird to insert on the board. It's just this piece here. So it's the fastest setup. And then also spinning this, it's really satisfying. Such a nice spin, wow. Okay, so now that's enough with the good. Now let's get to the bad. In our playthroughs, there was one very glaring issue was that, yes, these instant win conditions are really cool, but there's a couple things working against them for them to be reliable strategies. Like for one, deletion of win conditions is fairly commonplace, where it's just 1 out of 6 on the die. So you could buy the instant win card, then someone after you just rolls a deletion, oops, it's gone. Like you couldn't defend against that at all, and it feels really bad. Your money went down the drain too. Plus the person rolling it maybe didn't want to delete. Maybe they wanted to buy something from the central area. Either title deeds could have a 1-round immunity, or you can have a way to have rerolls, just something to dial this in more. The bigger issue is that the game's rules as written say you just discard all these sale cards in the middle once they're done. And then eventually, well, with all the buying and deletion going on, you're going to run out of sale cards in the game. And that means that this buy die is pretty much useless. That is, 5/6 of it is useless. The 1/6 deletion could still be useful. So then after every single normal die roll, you're rolling the buy die, because you could get a 1 out of 6 of deleting something. Maybe. This could have been fixed by either reshuffling these sale cards back into the deck once they all disappear, or just have something make the game faster once all the sale cards are gone. The game dragged for us once all these central cards were gone. Remember, there's 8 more properties now, so, when all properties are owned, the game ends. Well, that doesn't happen as early as you'd think. And even though you start the game with more money here, $2,000 instead of $1,500, when the game state gets to this end game of all the sale cards being gone, you actually don't have as much money as you think to invest in houses or hotels that knock out people. This is because you spent so much money on sale cards that got deleted. Like here, this one you thought would net you a ton of money. Like, oh, I'm spending $500. Yeah, sure, that's a ton of money, but I'm gonna have the bank, right? I'll be rich. And then the card gets deleted. Okay, well, $500 went down the drain. And then lastly, some of these sale cards are just way too strong. Like Instant Monopoly lets you buy a complete property set from another player for the purchase value. So if there's houses or hotels on that space, haha, too bad. I just paid the initial purchase value. Sheesh. Make this card more expensive at least. Or Deed Grabber, steal each player's least expensive title deed. Well, early game, their least expensive property might be their only property, and so you just mad profit. Okay, whatever, like it's Monopoly, right? Let's not focus too much about balance, right? The final expansion is Go to Jail, which gives you bonuses around jail and introduces the crazy SuperJail, which can give you even more bonuses. Game ends when all spaces are owned or when someone goes bankrupt. There's a really fascinating tweak to the rules where you cannot win the game if you are in any sort of jail. So you cannot simply camp in jail, and rather you're incentivized to leave as soon as possible. And leaving quickly is expensive because it's $100 to the bank for your normal jail and $300 to SuperJail for the player who is a snitch and sent you there. Every time you spend a turn in jail, you're getting a bonus card too. And if you get sent to SuperJail through a card played by another player, you get Super Corruption, which are busted. More on this later. This expansion also treats normal jail like another ghost space. That is, once you pass it, you get to collect a card. You get to collect something. And again, these corruption cards follow the same premise as the other expansion abilities. Like they'll just give you something strong on your turn. Like you can move to the next unknown property to make the game faster. Or you can own an unknown property for $50. Oh, $50 for Boardwalk. Oh, whoa, okay. So this set I'm covering last because it seems the most complex from afar, but actually it doesn't change that much. It mostly retweaks jail, as I already said. Other than that, yes, it replaces the chance and community chest with die rolls, where you can get either more corruption cards or get sent to jail, or grab money or go to jail. And these are only 4 spaces with no control of you landing there. This is also removing some of the Monopoly flavor, like it takes away the charm of a chance or community chest draw for just a simple die roll, some of which send you to jail, which A, prevents you from moving and buying properties, so that feels really bad early game, and B, can auto lose you the game late game, since you can only get out of jail in the beginning of your next turn, and the game might end before then. Though I did notice the corruption card does have this little nod to OG Monopoly, where it has everyone pays you $10 for each property you own. It's like it's your birthday in normal Monopoly. Okay, so sending people to jail constantly would slow down the game, right? So how did they make this faster than normal Monopoly? Well, I think the designers just worked around that by making the super corruption cards, the ones over here, mega overpowered. Some are okay, like you take $100 from each player. That's all right. Or you can steal corruption cards from other people's hands randomly. That's okay. Others are straight insane, like Greasy Palms to buy a complete property set for $500. Wow, you can just take Park Place and Boardwalk with houses fully loaded? Jeez. Or Long Con to build a free hotel without being complete. Wow, that's insane value. The worst, which actually just breaks Monopoly, like this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in Monopoly ever, is this card here, which lets you swap your money pile with someone else's. So everything we've been building up for, that is our cash piles, because this game's all about money, now, yeah, you just swap with someone else, whatever, right? This card and the other blatantly super corruption cards should not be in the game. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but they should be more retweaked to just making the game faster, like letting you buy more unknown properties, or to play with the jail mechanic, sending someone to jail and making that price to break out then exorbitantly expensive, like instead of $100, it's now $500. And lastly, for some reason, this expansion in particular has some weird uneven back coloring for the super corruption cards, yucky. And now before scoring, we gotta talk about. This video is brought to you by Song for War,
which is currently our favorite World War II board game. We played Song for War Mediterranean Theater, where the Axis and allies face off with a sequential movement for air, sea, and land. And this makes the combat feel really tense with all sorts of varied units. Here's some highlights from our video.
Song for War really captures the feeling of a combined arms game.
Relating this to gambling, but actually it feels more like I'm a crack addict when I'm playing Song for War. Check out the link below to follow up on Song for War. Scoring! Okay, so now it's time for a recommender score for these. I mean, I know this isn't the most in-depth review, but also these expansions aren't that in-depth anyways. So we're gonna weigh the good and bad of each with the caveat of whether or not these are even good ideas in the first place. Before I give the scores, well, how would we score base Monopoly, right? Well, Monopoly is kind of an odd game to talk about because most people don't even play it correctly. The most common house rules are forgetting auctions or adding to the free parking jackpot. I've also seen landing on go directly gives you $400, railroads let you travel, or the only way to build houses is to land on your own property. Then you're allowed to build a house. I've played with all these house rules, by the way. Okay, so base Monopoly rules as written, I would evaluate as the good parts are there's some nice and memorable player pieces, it's super accessible with the cultural familiarity, and then has some cool trading ideas with some progression. The bad is that there's player elimination combined with really poor time management, and then there's no agency at all in the roll and move mechanic. Essentially, Monopoly boils down to who gets the best properties early combined with who is able to make the one incredible pivotal trade. Then it's just moving around the board until someone lands on a hotel that's too brutal and everyone else surrenders. It's truly a winners takes all, losers feel really bad. And yeah, the game can definitely drag because there's so much luck and no set end time. But actually, if you think about it as a critique of 1940s America, then actually it's a 10 out of 10, yeah, like actually, especially for being designed so long ago. Monopoly was released in ye old 1935. Its target audience is just generations far, far removed from me. So I went on a quick detour to talk to my uncle, not blood related.
Hi, Ashton.
Hello.
I'm Ashton's neighbor and lifelong friend. When we played Monopoly, because it took so long, we'd play Monopoly for a whole week, the same game. It was always, if you landed on somebody else's property, you know, it was a big kick, you know. Grandsons now, what they play, it's all on the TV, done with a computer, it's a game, you know.
If I tell you that the Monopoly expansions make the game 40 minutes now.
Yeah, I kind of find that hard to believe, knowing all the different things you had to do to go around the board. I don't think you can make it around the board once in 40 minutes. Okay.
But for a recommender score of should you buy and play Monopoly today with so many other games around, the score would be a 3 or 4 out of 10. I could be swayed either way. Like if the game takes too long, like people are continually just getting lucky rolls and not landing on properties they're supposed to be landing on, then yeah, the game would be a 3. It's just too long for what it is. Otherwise, the game is a 4. But let's say you like Monopoly and or want to play it again for whatever reason, and you want to spice up the experience. So with that mindset in mind, what would we rate these expansions, as in them being add-ons to Monopoly? if you already enjoy Monopoly. And so, free parking Jackpot is going to be a 2 out of 10. Terrible addition if you like Monopoly. Buy everything is going to be a 5 out of 10. Average if you like Monopoly. Then Go to Jail is going to be a 4 out of 10, below average if you like Monopoly. So let's get back into how they got me to buy the expansions. They're short, and shortening the game is really smart and incredible marketing. You can buy this game for just 10 bucks and combine it with that Monopoly you didn't get to play enough, I suppose, then finish the game well under 1.5 hours. At least if the buy everything expansion doesn't drag. But really, I think these designs need a lot more refinement for what they're trying to do, and this free parking one is just like gambling, basically. It's just flicking and gambling. And then the idea of free parking gets pulled out underneath you when you realize that someone can just take the free parking through a card. If you like free parking, why not just house rule free parking on your own? Then have the game end when all properties are bought. The deal mobile is just making you strong out of dumb luck. It feels like a mobile game where you paid some real money to get a temporarily busted move for a couple of turns. Maybe this was lifted from the mobile game Monopoly Go. Maybe. Buy everything is the one that stood out to me the most, since it's really quirky with buying so many things, and by making the game end early through instant win cons, yeah, there's some magic here. Even when the game does drag, there's some interesting tweaks on the original Monopoly formula because there's more properties in the game. If the design team here doesn't care about balance, they should at least hone in how the buy die works. This I could see with some tweaks to timing and smoothing out the sale cards could be a 6 or maybe even a 7 out of 10 if you enjoy Monopoly already. Go to Jail feels like the most confused out of the three, since while it's you cannot win if you're in jail is neat, the SuperJail half gives people such wildly overpowered cards that you almost never want to snitch and send people there until super end game so they can't win. So if you're playing to win and only sending people to SuperJail at the very end of the game, you're not using half of this expansion most of the time. This expansion also feels slightly at odds with being a shorter and faster game by there being more ways to send people to jail, which can really hurt the early game pacing if you get certain cards and rolls. Remember, since this expansion ends once all properties are owned, there's no classic Monopoly endgame of the board being super developed and you just want to chill in the jail, because that's fun, right? Just chill in prison. Actually, a lot of the Go to Jail expansion just boils down to when you get sent to jail, how long you want to stay in there because you're foregoing moving around the board, but you might draw something good. So yeah, it's a lot of hard G there. Before I move on to my personal scores for these, I want to bring up the fact that making base Monopoly so much shorter, like 40 minutes, actually isn't even that good of an idea too.
I don't think you can make it around the board once in 40 minutes.
See, the central agency of Monopoly is to do trades, and when you have expansions where the game ends when all properties are acquired, well, that's kind of where the real trades start to happen. So the expansions just end suddenly when someone rolls that lucky or unlucky number to buy the last property. And then there's just some more hesitancy in trading if people have really strong bonus cards in their hand to change the game state. Do I really want to trade with him if he has a card that lets him complete the set? Does he have more money than he promises because he has all these secret cards he could do? And then again, the free parking expansion, it's amped up the extreme of who knows what will happen because you flick, right? Could be good or bad, but whatever you roll on, you will still get a new card so you can play later. So because trading isn't as common, they had to design ways to build houses on incomplete sets. Thus, there is an ability or two to build houses in every single expansion. Also, you might have realized in this review that I talk about the blue set a lot more than other traditionally strong sets, like the pink and the orange ones. Well, this is because with the game being so accelerated with all these abilities to grab properties of your choosing, well, then you're just gonna go for strongest value property. And then you charge rent at the end of the game for your properties. So yeah, you're just gonna get your money back and more by putting hotels there. So why won't you not do that, right?
It's pretty good because you get 200 each plus the cost is 200 each.
Oh, right. It's like people landed on that.
Look at this. It just says...
If you want shorter Monopoly, I'd actually recommend the card game Monopoly Deal, which you probably knew about already. Or you can get a copy of 2010-ish Monopoly with the speed die. This is something you add on to every roll, letting you usually buy multiple properties a turn. It basically condenses the early game a lot, so you can get to the interesting pivotal trades faster in the end game, so then you can get those houses going. What happened to this though? It's not being sold anymore. I'd imagine that Hasbro thought that people didn't really appreciate it and thought it just made the game too confusing to people. Added on to manufacturing another die was probably not worth the cost for them. For fun, I looked at some recommended variants at the back of my Monopoly rulebook. One of them had 5 steps, starting with dealing randomly 3 tile deeds to each player, and then the game ends when one person goes bankrupt. I never tried this, but it seems like the cheapest and easiest way to make the game faster. One thing that really caught my eye though is that there's no game designers mentioned anywhere on these boxes and in the rules. And that makes sense because it's the Hasbro ecosystem, right? It's like if you're buying these expansions, you probably don't care about the designer. You care about it being Monopoly. And it being Monopoly and faster and only $10? Yeah, tons of people are going to buy this, I'm sure of it. So at the end of the day, I just can't really recommend any of these expansions, and no, there's no recommendation to combine them to create some super Monopoly that is even shorter, even though they could have done that to sell more. I mean, I suppose you could combine Go to Jail and Buy Everything so that you could own the jail spaces and then people are getting sent to jail more regularly so you can make more money. That'd be interesting. I guess if you want to combine that, just let me know down below. Anyways, if you really, really want zany Monopoly fun, then yeah, Buy Everything. It's still 5 out of 10. We don't recommend it, but we don't unrecommend it. It's kind of a take it or leave it. So yeah, you can get this for your novel, moving around the board, Monopoly fun. So now for my personal scores on all of these expansions. Before we get into that, of course, what would I rate base Monopoly? Good old faithful Monopoly. I'm actually not that opposed to playing Monopoly, given that you play by the right rules and the game doesn't drag, and you play with a friend group you like to trade with. And then you end the game as soon as someone's gonna win. I know this is a lot of little stipulations on Monopoly, but hey, I'd never really played this game or it never gets suggested unless it's a very specific group anyways. Like normally I'd be playing this game with people that don't normally play board games, and that would be a win in of itself for me. I would rate this a 4, okay, I rated it a 3 out of 10. This is just, it's a little bit too long for what it is. But yeah, it is actually, if I think about the mechanics, it's kind of shocking how I'd almost rate this a 4 out of 10. This game just has so many fond memories for me. Darn nostalgia, man. Darn nostalgia, get out of here. Let's talk about these ones now. Free parking is gonna be a 1 out of 10. A 1 out of 10. Yes, it makes me feel sick to my stomach how playing Monopoly, which I have some respect for, just feels like an utter flicking, gambling, roulette. I'm in the pits of gambling hell. Flick, 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 flick. The moment someone played, oh, I get the jackpot now off a card on turn 3, I was just like, well, why? Like, why am I playing this? This is worse than normal free parking. Buy Everything would actually be a 4 out of 10 for me. I think it's kind of whimsical, the things they're doing. The instant wins reminds me of the game Flux, where it's just like, oh, wow, you did like a kind of a cool, interesting combination to get wins. It's cute. And of course, since OG Monopoly is a game I have a lot of childhood memories with, well, getting to buy up all these interesting spaces, like the chance space, is cool. It's a cool little like nostalgic twist to me. If I were to play Monopoly again, I'd actually readily ask to play with Buy Everything, especially because it makes the game shorter. Lastly, Go to Jail would be a 2 out of 10. Terrible for me. It just feels really dry to me. I never thought that going to jail Monopoly was that cool of a mechanic anyways. I just like moving around the board, rolling dice and moving. I mean, at least you're doing something right on your turn. This one actually kind of felt like free parking in the sense that like, oh, well, you know, someone just draws an overpowered card and plays it. Oh, okay. Also, I think rolling these dice off of chance and community chest is just very dry. Just fills me with not much. Just, oh, I just got like $200 for landing on a space. Wow, that's interesting. So there we go. That's the review. I suffer so you can be more knowledgeable about these Monopoly expansions. And yeah, if you played one of these or you're actually gonna buy one, please let me know and how your experience went, because I've only played each of them once. That is it. Bye-bye.
Here you go.
Wow, what a... I'm gonna take the Dealmobile anyway.
So you're teleported out of jail?
Is there anything saying I can't do that?
Yeah, there's not.
Because I'm going to free parking, I guess.
So petty theft. Play by another player buys the property. Steal it immediately.
What the frick? Dude, that is
This
insane.
game sucks.
It's so insane. Okay.
Oh my god.
My
3-1s?
My poor guy.
That's so